Thank you for your patience. We are now live on YouTube.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Mike Waters, and I'm the chair of the Awareness Task Force for the City of Salem Human Rights Commission. My pronouns are they, them, and I will pass it to Tricarico.
Hi, Tricarico, resident of Ward 2. My pronouns are they, them, and I'll pass it to David.
Hi, my name is David Reinhold. My pronouns are he and him, and resident of Polk County.
Hi, David.
Hi,
I'm Marilyn Daly Blair, Center 50 Plus. My pronouns she, her. Thank you. I saw everyone at the last meeting. Good to see you, David.
Nice seeing you.
And hi, I'm Bria DeZodel. I'm part of the City of Salem IT, and my pronouns are she and her as well. Nice to see you, David, and others. Nice to see you again.
Thank you for the help and support, Marilyn and Bria, tonight.
My pleasure.
We, I imagine we do not have any public comment.
We do not.
All right. And so we do have 3 of our 4, so we can approve minutes. Did folks get a chance to take a look at the minutes? And would anybody like to make a motion? They feel moved.
Make a motion to approve.
I would second, but I wasn't there.
Oh, fair.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, is that all right? He doesn't need to be there, right? To approve the minutes.
You can see the summary, right?
If David trusts you, he can raise his hand.
I could.
All right, the minutes are approved. Well, we do have a few items to talk about today. First is on our videos, and a little bit of unfortunate news. Our person who we had all set to make a video for us had an issue that affected their face, that affected their visage. Oh. And they do not want to be on a video at this time. So we do not have a video in the queue ready to go, set to move forward. I think given that we may want to think about, and what I was thinking about is, okay, maybe we do need to come up with just some more scripted type of content that could be turned into, just general awareness videos about HRC. And I'd be happy to tackle some scripts for that type of content. And we can continue to look for individuals, of course, to videos for us. But I wondered what you all thought.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great if you could do that.
All right, I will put my pen to paper and see what I come up with before our next time. We also have had one of our 2 scheduled sessions for HRC 101. I got just a very brief note from Gretchen about it, and I kind of had thought we might have talked about it last night at Human Rights Commission, but we didn't. So all I know is that it sounds like it went pretty well. There were good questions. I don't even know how many were in attendance. Did she say in her note to us, Marilyn?
No, I didn't see attendance notes.
Yeah.
Let me look again. Let's see.
She just noted there was one Monday of last week or Monday of this week, and then
another one on Friday.
Yeah. So I expect we'll get a more thorough debrief when we meet with Gretchen next. But they are happening.
And what's the makeup of that HRC 101? Who is leading that? Is it a panel or just a single individual?
It is, I think it is Gretchen, Angelo, and Krista. Or it might be Angelo or Krista. But I kind of think they both are attending, both of them. And Gretchen had a pretty well lined out run of show that that we all peeked at before before the 101s were scheduled.
Who's the audience?
It's our community partners, so organizations that represent the different communities that are most impacted by Chapter 97. So it's leaders from those organizations. We sent out an email blast to a big list of those organizations. And so perhaps at the next awareness meeting, we can ask Gretchen for a little bit more specificity around what groups attended and how many, and that can help us determine if we want to do more 101s with other organizations.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts on the 101s?
Yeah, I'd want to know who's there because like maybe they aren't able to attend this round, but we can offer it again in like 6 months or something. You know, I'd like to keep it kind of as like an ongoing thing if possible. And then we could even develop, you know, just like a briefer update one of like, hey, here's what we're doing, you know, what would you like to see kind of thing. To keep that connection going. Because I think the initial connection is great, but I don't want it to just drop off.
I agree with you. In addition, Gretchen mentioned in an email that I'm not seeing, it might have been a different email than the one I'm looking at. But she mentioned that they had filmed it and that we might be able to pull some clips from it that might be useful for later use. So I think that's another opportunity where if there's something really good that's said, maybe we can get a clip of it, or maybe at the very least we could take what was said and reform it into another thing, you know, a video. It could be a video idea or something like that.
That be something we look at for our I don't remember what they were called, the videos that we were going to write the scripts for. Could we repurpose some of the HRC 101 for those?
Yeah, that's why I volunteered to write all those scripts.
Okay. Perfect.
Because I don't write anything new. I steal. That's the kind of writer I am. Any other thoughts on our 101 program?
Last night you mentioned about getting feedback or input from the community for what HRC is trying to accomplish right now. Is this the group that you were talking about?
Yeah, it's not a formal agenda item tonight, but I wanted to hit it in the member remarks and announcements section because, you know, like we heard last night that Tricarico has done a ton of legwork with BIPOC communities. And we just talked about it in the LGBTQIA task force group as well, to try to get some of those perspectives in there. And I worry that we're not getting all of the perspectives. We heard Councillor Neudijk last night mention anti-Semitic activity and making sure that we, as part of our work, we're engaging with that community, the synagogue. And so in thinking about all of that, I wanted to hit that in member remarks and announcements just around, should we, you know, since we have this new email tool, and we could actually hit it in the section where we talk about the email tool as well. I'm having to pull up the agenda. It's hard to navigate when you're on just one screen. Yeah, actually, our next topic was the regular email communications. So maybe could we talk for a minute about the mayor's ask and whether we could do an outreach via email for that?
Yeah, like we already have that email list, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say we just put together a quick blurb with like, hey, here's what the mayor asked us. Like, what would your response to this be? What do you want to see us ask for? And there's a really great way to get more input because like I really want to get some things going, but I don't want to rush through it and miss anybody. You know, I really want to make sure that everyone feels, as many people as possible feel that they're a part of this and that they can really, you know, use this opportunity for their benefit too. You know, I want to make sure there's a lot of people heard. So I think that's a great idea. I think it'd be a great thing to get out as soon as possible so that we can start incorporating the ideas that we get into our ask.
I agree.
It sounds like we're all in agreement about that. Yeah, Gretchen set up but prior to the HRC 101, she set up all those email lists, and they made a template for us as well for the Human Rights Commission. So we have a template, and all we will need is just a few words. So I'd be happy to tackle that and work with Gretchen to just get that out. I think it should be.
Mail, you will be providing them how to communicate those thoughts to you. Is it going to be a return to that email, or how will the information be processed?
I think that's a question I'd probably ask. I'd throw back on you guys, or more
Okay.
Gretchen. But my guess is that Gretchen would prefer either that they respond to the email that it's sent from, and I can't recall if it's sent from Gretchen's email or it's sent out of MailChimp, but you can put any email as the sender.
Mm-hmm.
You work in that program. So I can't recall if she sent it out from her.
So my MailChimp goes out just from the city.
Like a city address?
Yeah, it says like Center 50. Like it's not from me personally.
She probably sent it out over human rights at cityofsalem.com.
Yeah.
And if she used that address, that's probably the best address, is my guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we would want people to write to human rights at City of Salem as respond, unless Gretchen has a different preference when we talk about it, but I'm guessing that's what she'll want.
Was there a recent survey that people have completed?
A recent survey.
Mm-hmm. Has there been any recent surveys from human rights?
The HRC 101 invitation is the most recent.
Okay.
And she set up the email list for that. That's the first time we've done, at least since I've been on the commission, that we've done that kind of an email blast. And having it out of MailChimp also is new to the process. We are going to talk about the survey next. Anything additional on email? I kind of think we said last time that we would try to develop more of our annual plan around email, but I still think we're premature. I think that the commission needs to do a little more of their work plan before we can do an annual plan. But it seems to me that with the mayor's ask, we at least have this one email that we can do, and then follow up and determine maybe at our next awareness task force, we can have a little more insight into what the yearly plan might look like. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Are we still going to do quarterly updates kind of in the meantime? I think that was part of the plan, but I'm not remembering.
Yeah, we talked about what I think we talked about last time was that we wanted HRC to have its work plan meeting, which was last night, and that we would use that work plan to figure out what were the different points of the year for communication. And I think we did discuss about quarterly was a good cadence. I think the challenging thing for a newsletter is that you've got to have content to populate it. In other words, you have to have done some activities to be able to share, so I think, at least from my perspective, it's still a bit premature, but if you have thoughts about what topics might be ready.
How about like bias crime update, something like that, in there? Some kind of data.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I assume all that's publicly shareable. So, how many complaints are we getting? What are the bias crime? Even though people can see that in the meeting, I know a lot of people don't have the time or willpower to sit through our hours-long Zoom meeting. So I think a brief summary of like, hey, this is what we saw over the last 3 months would be a great way to kind of just keep people in touch with what's going on.
And I think some people, if they see other people reporting things, then that opens the door for them to be willing to report too.
Absolutely. Because we can put a blurb like, here's the bias crime update, here's the complaint, here's how you report a bias crime, here's how you report or make a complaint. Because they're like, oh yeah, I can do it too. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I like that as a direction. So a quarterly report from HRC might include, these are the kinds of incidents and crimes that we've had reported. So bias crimes as well as complaints. It could include what the HRC's activities were for that quarter. Later in the year, we'll have the survey. We'll have other things like that come up throughout the year. Once we make our report to the mayor, I think that's another really good touch point. So once that report's been released, obviously the city will sort of do its own thing with that, but we could speak directly to our communities as an HRC about what we put in the report and why. This is another opportunity that I could think of.
Once we start doing events again, we should try to remember to take pictures of our booth setup so we can share like, hey, we were at this event. I think that's kind of a fun and positive thing to share. I want to make sure there's a good balance of both of those things in the newsletter.
The booth is currently in my garage, so I could just set it up.
Yes, put pictures of your dogs in the booth, please. That would be so great.
I love that.
We could always click links, put links in there, like links to our Facebook page, or even links to our minutes.
Yeah. Some of that I think is baked into our template. I should try to track it down because she sent it to me. I'll try to track it down or actually I can't just email it to you. I will ask Gretchen to send you the one that they did for HRC 101. So you can see, I think some of the things are baked in, but they might not all be. So maybe we could take a little bit of a more thorough look at it next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Put calendar events that we get at HRC.
Yeah.
I
love that too.
I'm just thinking of things that we can automatically every single time put something in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can add your special things whenever they happen.
Whenever we have something.
Yeah, because then it's like we only have to have a couple new things and that solves our content problem. Because even though a lot of those things are available, I mean, people aren't necessarily going to go look for that or know it's there. So if we just offer like, hey, here's all the things from our website in different sections, that's a great way to just make sure people have access to all of it.
Right.
Another one will be, I meant to include this on the agenda for the last meeting, but when we launch our LGBT resource page, that's another one to include.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. maybe, another thing that would be good, depending on how much content we had, would be to do periodic brief profiles of our commissioners. Because one of the roles of us as commissioners, of course, is that we are safe people to come talk to if you've got a concern and you're not quite ready to make a call to the city. That you can find a commissioner maybe within your own community who will be understanding in that regard. So maybe some commissioner profiles, you know, and I think it's a lot of our commissioners are so interesting. And of course, we have a high school student who is our chair these past 2 years, and I just think that's incredible and would be a really nice little profile opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Cool.
And then you've got like, 12 newsletters worth of content, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. I like all these ideas. Other thoughts? David, it looks like your wheels are turning.
I'm trying to make my wheels turn. They're not turning.
Well, if something comes later, we can always add to our list. Why don't we talk a little bit about the survey? We got some good news, which is that we finally got a hold of Marianne from Willamette. And I say Willamette because that is, I believe, her next course is Willamette students and not Western students. We had Western students last time. And their availability to do the survey for us would start in April. So that gives us a little bit of time to, plan on our end how we want to interface with them best, what our requests are. I think in previous minutes from this meeting, we have documented what our desires are for the survey. And so I think we may want to comb older minutes for that because there were some very specific things. Of course, Spanish was a major issue that we wanted the survey to be available in Spanish. The other issues that Linnell Wilcox came and spoke to us about regarding the register of the survey, and by register I really just mean like the grade level, the way that it was written and how it really needs to be brought down to a lower grade level and made easier to understand. Those were kind of the major things. And then the other thing that we really want to do better this year is in having more responses. Our response rate was quite a bit better on the second time around the survey than it was the first time around, but it still was not enough to be considered statistically valid. I can't remember what the exact number was, but we weren't that far off of it to be able to, say with some confidence that this was a good sized cross section of Salem. So those were some of the things that we've kind of talked about on the survey. Do you have other thoughts about conducting the survey this year and other differences that we might want to point out to Marianne and her students when we are able to meet with them in April?
Can we possibly provide some kind of advertising or outreach at all the vaccination centers about it? I mean, everyone has to go through one of those centers at some point. You know, that could be a good place to spread awareness in general, but be like, hey, here's this survey. As well as, is that something that can be a regular appearance in our emails that we go out? Like, hey, our annual survey is coming up. Like, here's where we're at, and like, tell us who to survey. You know, who else can we share this with? I mean, as general, you know, share this email with people, and like, here's how to sign people up or whatever. But like, specifically for the survey, I feel like there's some opportunities there to make sure that's getting to more people. Because I'm also processing through, like, Linnell especially did a lot of like in-person stuff, or we'd go to the farmer's market and do in-person stuff to try to get folks who aren't online. And I don't know how to do that in a pandemic other than the vaccination sites would be the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. Now, we didn't use the farmer's market this time.
Mm-hmm.
The farmer's market was the first time they did the survey. They did some kind of scatter plot specific type of exercise that they had at the farmer's market. This one was conducted all through the City of Salem website, except for, and to your point, Linnell got us 35 or so surveys from the unsheltered population. And that is a really good question, and we should perhaps invite her back. I'm sure Gretchen could get in touch with her to invite her back in February or March to kind of talk about how we might do that distribution. Her strong request for us was around time. She needed more time to conduct that survey than she had, and we were pretty firm on our deadline. And so we'll want to be really transparent with Marianne when we talk with her about that. There are some constraints by having students do this. We don't, you know, we have to work within the semester, for example, to have the students do this work. So we might be crunched again. But what we can do a better job of this year is having Linnell know exactly what she's walking into, and then we can pre-talk with her, I think, the plan for how that gets done during the pandemic, because I have no idea. Or if she's even up for that, or if she needs help, if she needs more volunteers, if we need to get more volunteers from the commission or whatever, help her gather that. That's all really good points, Tricarico. Do we want to, and we can talk about this more in the coming months, but we also may want to think about whether there are different or additional questions that we want to ask, whether the questions we were asking were the right questions. I kind of wondered, and I don't know if it's too much of a can of worms, but given, and particularly because this is all going to happen probably before the survey happens, but the mayor's ask, I mean, I keep coming back to that. You know, is there a mechanism, should there be a mechanism in the survey for gathering those kinds of ideas? And even if they don't make it into our report this year, because we'll be done probably by then, they could be carried forward into future types of reports. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. Because if we stick to the general theme of like what would help you feel safer in Salem, you know, that also carries into not only future things that we send to council, but our Safe Spaces project and LGBTQIA plus intersectional, right? Like we talked about that being ongoing. So that could be another way to inform that project, as well as sometimes, like David said, people don't feel comfortable complaining, but maybe if they can give us a general feel of like, this is why I don't feel safe, that'd be another way of doing that. It's not like a formal complaint, right?
So that may be additional content that we want to gather in that survey. And I will say, and we'll want to talk with Marianne, that the survey is already a bit long. So the question becomes, you know, are there things that we want to consider even removing if we want to gather that kind of additional information.
I don't remember what's in it. Is there already like an open-ended, is there anything else you'd like to tell us type of question?
I seem to recall there is, and I think prior to our next meeting, we need to get a look at it, so we can really do a deep dive into it next time. But I think that there is, and people don't answer those very often.
Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering if we could turn that question into the what would make you feel safer question.
Yeah, more specific.
Yeah, like, is there anything you'd like to tell us, and what specifically would make you feel safer while in the Salem community, right? Because then it might spur more response without adding a whole new question.
Yeah, I like that. Any other thoughts on our survey, Marilyn?
Well, no, I don't have any thoughts. I just wanted to be able to summarize. Are you going to gather more thoughts in the future, or what's the next step?
Yeah.
Are you working on it next time?
I think because we can't meet with the students until April, that it gives us our February and March meetings to kind of refine what we want to ask the students to do, which is to make some improvements to the survey for accessibility, to consider how we would ask a question that that gets at the mayor's request. And then there may be some other things. I think before we really dive deep into it, I think we probably need to get another look at the survey. So I can put on my to-do list to ask Gretchen to resurrect it, or I could even try to resurrect it, but she'd have to send it to you anyway because of the whole public records thing.
That's right. I can put that in my notes that you would like to see the past.
Yes. Yes, and you may have a link somewhere in your old notes, either of you, from when we did it last time. But I think if Gretchen sends it to us fresh, that would help. And then we could walk into our meeting with the students with a pretty clear idea of what we're asking them to do. And of course, it's a collaborative process. So once we meet with the students also bring a lot of their perspectives into how we do it. It doesn't so much matter if we make little tweaks here and there, as long as those tweaks aren't so large that they shift the data from what we measured previously. So we were very careful with the second version of the survey that it had some bearing or resemblance to the previous version, so that we can continue to see if we're making any kind of progress. And of course, there's a series of questions in there about HRC and about people's awareness of HRC. So that's another important part of the survey that we'll get data from as well. And between the first and the second survey, awareness of HRC had improved according to respondents. So that was kind of cool. Well, anything else on our survey tonight?
I have nothing.
Any member remarks or announcements?
No.
All right. Well, I think it is a shorter meeting tonight. I think next time we'll have a little bit more content to dive into with the survey. And but
Can I ask for my notes on the video script? Are you going to draft something now, or what?
Yeah, I'll draft it prior to our February 24th meeting, and I will send that to Gretchen
Great.
for distribution with the materials.
Okay.
As well as, I made another note of something else I'm supposed to do. The email about the mayor's ask. I will work with Gretchen on getting that put together. And we'll provide an update on that at our next meeting as well.
Great.
All right.
You sure run an efficient meeting there. I'm impressed.
Well,
At the center,
had
we
the-
would have spent the first 20 minutes enjoying our cookies and coffee.
See, those are my kind of meetings. Like, why doesn't HRC have cookies and coffees at every meeting?
oh, I miss getting together in person.
Yes.
That's why we need the budget.
A little delivery that comes to the door at the beginning of your meeting.
Yes.
I'm about to drive over to your house, Tricarico, and raid your donuts. So I'll see you in a couple minutes. All right. Well, this was great. It was great to see you both. Thank you again, Marilyn and Bria, for being our hosts this evening.
Great work. Thank you so much.